right, g'day fellas. Here we are.
How are you, boys?
Back in the studio. We've got a very, very special guest with us today. Got Dylan Tran with us.
How are you, Dylan?
Online,
How you doing, mate?
Welcome,
online
mate.
PT extraordinaire, bodybuilding coach. Probably
And
throw it to
competitor.
you. Competitor, yeah.
Yeah, natural bodybuilding competitor. Just in amateur ranks
Yeah.
of 3 state shows and did 1 nationals. But yeah, thanks for having me. Pleasure to be on.
Yeah, it's good to have you. While you're there, why don't you give us a little bit of a background of how you got into fitness and what you're doing now? Maybe throw a shout out to your online coaching business, and then we'll kick it off from there.
See where we go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I am at the moment, I'm a full-time online coach. Do a little bit of personal training. So if people aren't quite familiar what an online coach is pretty much having a remote personal trainer in your pocket and always there, and not having to have that, I guess, in-person experience with them, but trying to create an experience where, you are that kind of personal trainer that's always with them, creating programs, plans to help them kind of achieve their goals. I've been doing online coaching for going on 3 years now full time. I got my personal training certs back in 2012, but never kind of jumped into that into the industry. Just purely probably out of a bit of fear. Wasn't really taught well. Bit of ego. Kind of scared to leave the full time job and do that. Didn't really know what we were doing back then. It was the real easy 3-month certs where you just pay the money and you don't really learn much from it at all, and you just pay for a cert. Hence why I probably got so many PTs out there these days. Unfortunately, most are good. But myself, I specifically train more so in kind of the bodybuilding realm. I'm a natural bodybuilding competitor myself, as well as I'm definitely branching more into the bodybuilding kind of prep coach as well. I did my first competition back in 2015. It didn't really end very well. It was quite a difficult prep all up. Didn't have the right guidance. Purely driven by ego, driven by the look, not the process, not the journey.
Which is really difficult, right? I don't know if all the listeners would know the commitment, the discipline, even having motivation to do that is sort of next level. I think that's one of the reasons why we got you on, because it is really hard to do. It's not an easy thing. Yeah. I guess everyone would do it if it was easy, as they say. But getting that perfect physique for the stage to be able to look exactly like you want to at that exact point in time is really
science.
Consistency, dedication is it's next level.
It's extreme measures to achieve an extreme outcome. You kind of look at it from the outside in, and I guess it's the same for like when you see like magazines and that. It's like, oh, I want that, I want to look like that. And it's like, oh, it's good for that certain period of time to achieve, but it's something that takes minimum 6 months to achieve, plus the years behind you to get that knowledge, gain those foundations to achieve a look that you're probably going to spend 10 minutes on stage for. So you put 6 months into a work where you could just get it right for that. Depends. Sometimes you're on stage for 10 minutes, sometimes you're up there for 5 minutes, and it's not very long at all.
And it's probably unsustainable, isn't it, to be looking like that all the time?
Yeah, it's unless you're a super genetic freak that could walk around at sub 10% body fat. Yeah, it's definitely unsustainable. It's unhealthy. It's unsustainable. Like I said, just extreme measures to kind of achieve extreme look. But if you want to be thriving, you definitely can't be kind of walking around in that condition every day.
And when you say that 2015 comp didn't work out well for you, what do you mean by that? And because also I just checked on one of your posts on Instagram, it was actually a really invaluable learning experience for you. Like I think you noted 4 points that you learned from that experience to offer other people that were interested in doing it. So why did it go pear shaped for you?
I was about 23. I'd probably been training for years before then, about 6 years before then. It just wasn't. I was quite ego driven back then. The reason why I jumped into it was purely I thought, I'm going to win this. I'm the best. I could beat everyone. And by doing that, by focusing on that just outcome goal, you're not able to kind of take much out of what is kind of in between the process of it,
Yeah.
and the prep of it. And then I had a coach at the time who was awesome. He was actually owner of the gym we used to train at.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
So I went a very old school, ex bodybuilding champion, but he had that kind of old school mentality where it's just like, do what it takes, work hard, bust your ass off. And so that's what I kind of did.
There.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was just like cardio, you know, suffer. The more you suffer, like you have to suffer to achieve this look. And there was no, you know, this is not bagging about it at all. There was no kind of education in between. There was no, hey, we're going to do this because this is what's needed to do this. The reason why we're doing this is because this is trying to achieve this. It was just like, do this. So I'm like, cool, yep, yes, sir, let's do it. You know, whatever you got me doing. And it was just copious amounts of cardio. It was just a very bad experience. Now I went kind of carb free for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was because I had no kind of nutritional literacy, I didn't know about how to kind of set up my own eating, my own nutrition. Yeah. It was just here, have fish and salad. And it was that for probably 4 meals a day. And I just didn't know any better. I thought that's what it took, and I was willing to do it. And I suffered. Like,
did that impact your training?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Like there was no enjoyment in the training. It was all just, okay, I got to tick this box today. I'm coming in, do my cardio. I got to come in, smash my session. There was no intensity, effort behind it. There was no purpose behind it. There was no intent. And it was just weeks and weeks. I think it was like 20+ weeks, and I was just looking forward to. I wasn't even looking forward to the day. I just wanted to get it done with. Yeah. I thought, I was like, cool, I'll get up there. Everyone's going to recognize me. I'm going to win. And, you know, because I worked harder than everyone. And got up there, definitely, I think I came last out of all of it. Yeah, right. I came 5th out of 5, which is last. And then on another one, I was in the top 6 out of like 17, which is not bad, but only 5 get placed. So that's when I was like, cool, I'm going to place on the converse. And it just didn't end well. You know, I blamed everyone, blamed everything but myself. I was like, I hate this. Bodybuilding sucks. Don't do it. This is the worst thing. And it took me a very long time to kind of find my stride again, find the love, the passion in actually lifting again. And then it took me like 6 years to kind of do it again, get back into it. So and the only way I was kind of able to do that was just, I guess, self-educate, learn, and then find out. And as you go along, it's like, oh, you don't need to do cardio. Yeah. Oh, fish and salad is not the way.
Yeah, that's right. Whether you're training for a comp or just training for normal functional health and fitness, you know, you want to know the reason why you're doing something.
Exactly.
Now, if you're just going along without having knowledge or the reason why you're doing something, it just empties the experience, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And you want to enjoy it, don't you? You know?
Yeah.
You want to enjoy the process along the way. Yeah, it's going to be difficult, but you don't want to be suffering.
Exactly.
Yeah, not consistently. There's got to be some highs and lows, but you got to take some joy out of it, don't you? Where
it's
baseline is still enjoyment, not suffering.
Exactly. And I've turned away. I was talking to Jonesy about it. Like I've turned away more people, whether me coaching him specifically or just in general. Like I've turned more people away from comp rep and bodybuilding than I have encouraged, because it's something that on one side of the spectrum can be so fulfilling. You build so much resilience, you build such a strong mindset, you learn so much about yourself, you know, and you build so much confidence, and it's something where you actually put so much work into that you could actually reap the rewards no matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a first place. It doesn't have to be a trophy.
Just getting to the
you look back and go,
line.
I achieved that. Like I put in the work to achieve that. Yeah. But on the other side of the spectrum, like if you're so purely focused on winning and you know, bringing this certain look, and you will end up like 2015 deals where I hated it. I hated everyone. I blamed everyone. I was robbed. This is the worst. Don't bodybuild. It's the worst thing ever. And then, so hence, like now, like I love it. I really do love it. I you know, thank it for a lot of my achievements just in life in general. And I know it's kind of weird to say, but it built such a different mindset and built such different resilience in myself. Whereas like it gets such a bad rap, and so it should. There are some instances when there are some coaches out there that ruin people. Yeah. You know, they're not ready for it. They get them prepared, and then when it's all done and dusted, like they leave them and you know, they develop eating disorders and bad images to themselves. So it's one of those things where it's like I love it so much and it gets such a bad rap. Like I want someone to experience what I get out of it, not the bad end. Because when you kind of think of bodybuilding, like I think majority of people kind of look at it and be like, oh, like that, you're up there, you look like that. I heard this person suffered from this, this person had to eat 800 calories to get there. And I was like, no, that's not what it's about.
Doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be, But that's great that you have the ability, or you had that experience. So you probably look back on it now and go,
"It was the greatest learning curve,
that's
man.
probably
100%, 100%."
Because now you're making that passion a business, aren't you? You're like, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's my it's. So the business name's Simplified Transformations. And that's a
little bit of a pun with your
Tran,
surname.
My last name Tran in there. I didn't even come up with that.
Yeah, nice.
One of my clients was like, "Oh, you should do this," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds good." But yeah, and that's what I want to do. I just want to kind of, because it gets so overcomplicated. People overthink things. I overthink things. Everyone wants kind of the best method and what's the most optimal way to do things. And now with social media and internet being such a readily source of information that you could get things from, you're just sitting there just questioning what's right and what's wrong.
And there's so much info out there.
It doesn't need to be that complicated. And when it does get overcomplicated, people just don't stick to it, and hence why they're unable to stick to a program and achieve any kind of long-term sustainable results. And so that's the idea. If I just want to kind of make it, rather than focusing on what the best exercise is for a certain muscle group, it's like, cool, how about we just do something that we're going to stick to and it's going to get us to the gym day in, day out. And,
well, it's working for some of your clients. I mean, transformation is a key word. On your website, there's some awesome before and after pictures of some of your clients. Fantastic jobs. They look awesome, don't they? They look, they must be so stoked. It must be a great reward for them to start off in that sort of state to end up with the after photo. It looks brilliant.
It's definitely it spins me out still, because I kind of see it, and the way and this is just a bit of maybe ignorance on my end, but I see it. I'm like, why can't? And what I struggled with when I first got into PTing and coaching in particular is I struggled with empathy. Something I've definitely improved on now, where I just couldn't understand why someone couldn't follow a program.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you can't diet? And I couldn't understand it, and then that's something that I've definitely had to grow and learn. So even to this day, when I see results, I'm like, yeah, it's cool. You achieved that. But they're like, oh man, thank you so much. I could never thought. And it spins me out and blows my mind. I have to take a step back and think like, wow, this person's actually, something that, okay, yeah, sure. It's easy for myself and us. It was very difficult and life-changing for them. So definitely still spins me out every time I do kind of, someone messages me and they are extremely thankful. And look, my overall goal is, I want to get them to a certain look. I want them to achieve, obviously, results. And then at the same time, it's like, but I want them to keep that result. I can't sit down and be like, I've had success with every single client, long term, short term. I've seen clients, I've achieved wicked results with them, only to kind of see them maybe fall off a bit down the track. So they're definitely not all perfect. I've definitely got some tightening up to do with my business and how I kind of deliver a service. But I guess that's just a bit of an ongoing thing, like always trying to find ways. So my overall goal, if I had to, was achieve these transformations, whatever it might be. It could someone losing 5 kilos compared to someone stepping on stage and winning at bodybuilding. Yeah. But I want them to get something out of it, so that if I was to step away tomorrow, they know what to do. Yeah, what I mean, they know what to do, and if they don't have to read off a meal plan forever. They don't have to see, they can able to go to the gym and go, cool, I know that I need to target this, and I could change this up, opposed to being like whipping out the phone in the program going, I need to follow this specifically.
Yeah. What you've taught them actually becomes a lifestyle habit.
Yeah.
That's the key to a trainer's success, isn't it? To know that they've adopted this lifestyle that you've taught them initially, and they can take it themselves. Yeah, exactly. And have that intrinsic motivation as well. I reckon that would be the biggest challenge, is getting people motivated. And I guess they always say that you're paying a PT for obviously knowledge and whatever, but mostly motivation.
Yeah. Someone to train with.
Someone that you're accountable to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, who I guess in the physical sense is And I wanted to ask you about that. Like, do you have a pretty generic sort of model that you follow, or is everyone very different depending on what they want to achieve? Like, are you sort of catching up with someone once a week and having a chat about what things will look like, or are you physically having a bit of an interaction with them, sort of more or less like before each session, or is it just very variable in terms of how you do it?
Yeah, it's definitely. So now that I've kind of got to the business to a place where I do, I guess, have some sort of niche market. So whereas when I first started, it was like, okay, and I think when I was previously working for someone else, I had just a varying different clientele, mums and, young 20-year-olds, 70, like just so varying, where now I'm in a position where whoever does kind of seek me out, they've obviously know what they're kind of in for. And most of it is just kind of wanting to get jacked, kind of just taking their physique to the next level. And whether that means, it's like we said, comp prep or losing 5 kilos. So they kind of know what to expect. So based on that, I do kind of have a certain model, I guess, on how to, on how we're going to start things off. And then from there, we can kind of go, okay, how do we individualize this program? How do we individualize your training, your nutrition specifically for you, purely out of the fact of what's going to make you stick to it, just adherence in general. So someone like, Jonesy come to me and he could probably commit to an easy 5 sessions a week, commit to 5, meals a day, where someone else maybe only be able to get to 3, get to the gym 3 times a week. And, sometimes the eating windows are smaller, so that, you have to make it a bit more convenient. So starting off with the general model, what it kind of looks like, and then individualizing that, as well as you were saying, on the interaction side, I took on, for example, in the last couple of weeks, I took on someone who is very new to it, very green, never really trained before, tried it himself, has no clue what he's doing, never followed a meal plan, doesn't know what to eat. So for him specifically, I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to. I've organized, because I do a bit of PTing as well. And I was saying to the boys that I don't do personal training specifically, but I do offer that in-person sessions, whether that be an in-person check-in or if it's possible, if they're living in the same area, come catch up for an in-person session as well.
So they would come to your gym, your personal gym. You got your own gym at your house.
Yes. Yeah. So they'll come on down there and basically pretty much we could go through each session together, and at the same time just try to educate them as well. And
would you be then at that time also in those initial stages looking for any sort of, I don't know, imbalances or sort of any sort of things that you think, we're going to need to correct that first before we get launched into a program?
Able to kind of scale it back. And I guess that's based on their experience, that's based on my experience as a coach. Not really, like if someone's generally green to it all, I'm not going to be sitting there going, cool, we're going to get straight stuck into 2 top sets of heavy conventional deadlifts, and they're not going to know what to do. So
sort of break it down to beginner level.
Definitely. What's available at their gym to do, cool. We have a bit more access to machines, we'll start a bit more on there. But at the same time, it's like just starting off basics. And I guess we were talking about it before. I think that's probably the trouble when it comes to online coaching.
I was going to ask you about the positives and negatives, and that's probably one of them.
Massive challenge, I reckon.
If you're green and you're just starting out, and what's a deadlift? How do I deadlift? Yeah.
And even seeing, I guess, I don't know if you use like Zoom or videos or whatever, but even looking at different angles, and you're trying to work out like the biomechanics, if they're doing something wrong or if they're going to hurt themselves. It's tricky, hey? Like in real life, you can walk around and get a sense of it. And
definitely.
It's 2D screen.
It's hard because it's like on a screen, exactly, you could sit there and they have to take the perfect video for you to properly analyze, whereas like this is something I could, and hence why, if possible, I'd love to, like, I always give them that option. Hey, come down for a session. You're not sure about something? If not, record it. Record it to your best ability. I know it sucks. Whip out the camera. Get someone to record it for you. No one's going to judge you. If they do, they're shit. Don't worry about them. But no one's going to judge you. Record it. Send it to me. I'll do the best I can to critique it as much as possible. And we'll just try to improve from there. I guess you got to really put your cueing skills. So when I do my online check-ins with my coaches, with my clients, we do weekly. Depends on their kind of service. So if they're like a weekly online check-in, I look at their training. I look at their biofeedback. I look at the other numbers, body weight, photos if they've got it, and a check-in form that they fill out. More information, the better. And then I give them kind of in-depth video responses. So I use like Loom, and then I'll have their screens. I can see it, put it, and if there's any question where it's like, hey, Romanian deadlifts are hurting my back. And then generally you can kind of already think what's wrong with it. Give me a video, send it, and then I could give my in-depth critique. I could even probably step back from the computer, try to show them how it's done. So you could do the best you can with the tools that you have. In person's going with the utmost. That's the best way to be able to, I guess, fix something or assess something. But on the online realm, videos, queuing correctly, being able to actually queue just by using words opposed to actually showing them, directing them to other sources.
Do you, as part of your online thing that you offer them, do you do videos of yourself performing a lift or a movement?
So I use a app at the moment, a coaching app called Trainerize, which is very common, very, very common in online coaches.
And that has images of how to do
it. So when you do set up their program, there's a video for it. And they have a library of themselves, of the app they uses, which you're like, that could kind of go well. But I think one of the good things about the app is you could go on YouTube and link a separate video for that certain exercise. So if there's certain exercises that I think a video on YouTube describes very well from someone, then I'm able to link that up. Eventually, I would love to just have a whole library of myself doing them. That's the actual goal. Speaking of resolution, like when I listed this year's goals, I'd love to have just a diary of me being able to set the camera up, do an exercise, which I probably could. I'm just
a lot of time.
Put it into a library kind of thing.
Yeah, your voice, and it adds. It's one, like I could describe it the way I see it, and two, adds a little bit more of a personal touch. Especially in an online coaching realm where you don't want to make them feel. It's hard enough making them not feel like a number in person. Let alone on the online world, and being able to give that personal touch a bit more.
Sometimes that's a good thing being online as well, in that you don't have to travel. You can do it at home. If they've got a bit of a home gym, they can do it at home. Or, if they're going to a gym, there's not all that travel time and various bits and pieces. So the online world has definitely got its advantages for sure.
It's definitely one of those things where it's such, like, it could be super, super beneficial. Working remotely, not relying solely on.
And it's great for you, like you, as a person, family life, that work-life balance. You're not traveling anywhere either. You've got it set up as a sort of standalone business. And I don't know if that was a COVID thing or you had planned that out. That's how I want to go. I think this is the best way to do it. Or was that a bit of a pivot because of COVID? Or
so when I got into PTing and online coaching, I took the leap into personal training during COVID, I was a lab technician. So I worked more in mining, a bit more in the like roadworks, construction, civil construction and all that stuff. So like concrete testing, asphalt testing, soils testing. Didn't do anything to do with PTing, probably the complete opposite. High vis, getting dirty, typical 9 to 5. And once COVID hit, I kind of got this new job and I was working close to home.
As a PT?
No, I didn't even touch PT. I didn't touch PT at all. So I had my PT certs in 2012, did nothing with them. And all the way up into 2020, once right in the middle of COVID, depth of COVID. So I got another job. I was working as an asphalt technician down in Wangara. I was like, cool, this is perfect. This is close to home. And it just was the worst. Like I didn't like anything there. It was just, I knew the day I got there, I was like, this is not for me. I thought the grass was greener from my previous spot. My previous job, I was there for 8 years. It was I wasn't going nowhere. It paid the bills. It was no passion at all. I just did it day in, day out. That's all it was. Typical job. Went to a new job. Thought that was it. This is where I'm going to find, it's going to spark a light in me and I'm going to be able to do it. And just hated it. Everything about it. I hated it. I didn't like working there. Didn't quite like the people. And I was in a bit of a panic because I was like, COVID's here. Like this is right when COVID was like at the highest. And the only reason why I was working because we were considered what do they call it?
Like essential workers.
Yeah, I was considered essential because it was roadworks and all that. So that's the only reason. Yeah, so everyone was like, not. I was still working. I was a bit like, okay, I had a mortgage. I obviously wasn't a dad at the time, but it was a bit of a panic because I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going back to my old job. just to save face more than anything. I was like, I can't let them own me. No way. And I didn't know what to do. I was applying for these other jobs. And then at the time I was like, man, maybe this is a sign to just do something else.
Yeah, cool.
Everything happens
like,
for a reason,
exactly.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, PTing was what I've always wanted to do. I've just been too much of a bitch to do it.
Yeah.
I'm too scared to take the leap. Security over everything, security over passion,
Yeah.
pays the bills, got a mortgage.
That's a real trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Exactly.
it takes a lot of balls to do that, to say, okay, and you probably had a partner at the time.
Yeah.
You're talking to her and saying, look, this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes you need that little push. This job is terrible. I'm doing it. I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, and we'll see how it goes.
That's exactly how it is.
And some people, would just keep doing that job forever. I mean, that happens all the time. People,
Yeah.
it's a gutsy move to do that.
That's exactly how it kind of panned out. Because I was like, I want to maybe I'll just do PTing. This is it. And I was like, I'll just survive this job for another 6 months, work my ass off, build up my knowledge again about PTing. And I immediately was doing mentor sessions with a fellow online coach, and he was pretty high up in the bodybuilding realm. Really, really successful now. I was doing mentoring with him, and then that 6 month plan started like, maybe I could do this in 3 months. Maybe I could shorten this.
Yeah.
And the more I was thinking about it, the more I wanted to do it. And at the time, my partner, she had a good job. She was probably getting paid more than I was at both jobs. So she was a bit of the breadwinner of the family. And so I kind of turned to her just like that. And I said, look, I think I want to do this. I'm serious about this. I really want to do it, not for the fact of trying to be successful. I said, I think this is an opportunity for me to actually do something I enjoy doing, do something I love doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I said to her, but the downside to
gonna
that
be
is
tough.
it's going to be
Yeah.
I said,
Changeover.
you
Yeah.
might have to take the reins a bit. This might be really tough.
Yeah.
And she was all on board, man. She was
that's
like,
great,
yeah,
awesome.
good, do it,
That's
do what you
awesome,
love,
yeah.
let's do it. And then just it all panned out so well. The mentor I was working with, he obviously taught me a lot. He was able to hook me up with this place called PPS, which is called Physique Performance Specialist, which is it's like a private gym facility. You're a coach there. So he hooked me up with that because he was friends with the owner. The owner's awesome. He gave me the opportunity, completely green. Come on in, let's teach you. And from there, because we got paid hourly, it wasn't like a typical personal training job where you're relying on
Clients.
I was like, oh, this is the perfect opportunity because I could just purely work on my craft, become a good coach, become a good personal trainer, soak it all in without that constant fear of how am I going to pay the bills. And I think that's another trap to the personal training industry is you can't focus on your craft, you just focus on getting people in because you got to pay the bills at the end of the day.
That's right.
And if traditional PTs get paid for the clients they bring in, don't they? And they're almost hiring the space.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of pay them back, pay the
Exactly.
owner back.
Yeah. During that whole COVID thing, I had a few PT interviews.
That's
at
right,
some
yeah.
different gyms, and I just left them after a while. Firstly they want an initial $1,200 or $1,500 for setup, whatever, marketing and business cards and attracting some clients. And then once you've got clients, you're then giving them a percentage of the fees for the hiring of the
You're
facility.
busting your ass doing all the
busting your ass
face-to-face
for
work.
nothing,
The
man.
rent's not cheap,
No.
man. At these gyms.
Yeah.
They're crazy. They're north of $250, $300 a week.
Yeah. And you go there and you have an interview, and the person is more like a salesman than a gym.
That's right.
A gym owner,
Yeah.
He's just I don't know.
It's not a good feeling.
But I guess while you were doing that, mate, and getting your wage there, you could have then sort of start working on your little side gig.
Yeah.
So even then,
Finding your niche.
I wasn't I was just wrapped the fact that I was in the industry.
Yeah.
So I was like, I didn't really care too much about the pay. I had to do a bit of mathematics and be able to figure out what actually just the bare minimum I needed to get by in terms of paying the bills. And I was happy with that. And I think I was able to kind of grow quite significantly as a coach and PT in such a short amount of time because I was only in 2020. Because it was just I don't need to focus on rent. I don't need to focus on bringing clients in. The place was well established. He has 4 locations across Perth. So it was like, you were constantly, hey Dylan, here's a new client. And there wasn't no niche. I was doing group training, start off group training. And even at group training, it wasn't like a typical, like say F45. It was like, okay, I'm the coach of, like I had off the bat 35, 40 clients, which you won't see any PT. But it was like, here you go. And when we did group training, it was like groups of 8 in one session. But I was a coach for all of them. I was taking care of the nutrition. I was taking care of, the training and just whatever they were trying to achieve a goal. It was a very strength-based gym as well, based on, squat, deadlift, bench. So it was just pure honing on that and just taking on as much as I could, being a sponge, soaking it all up, doing courses on the side as well to kind of build nutrition. And to be honest, I didn't even really, because I was a subcontractor, I guess it was, I was still my business ABM, but I didn't really have much thought on branching out to do my own business by then. It was just, I was just cool. I'm just going to be a coach, however long as I'll stay in this place. And then I guess I just kind of reached a bit of a ceiling while I was there, where I started to develop a bit of a niche for probably a bit more, someone more on a hypertrophy base, a bit more bodybuilding base, a bit more physique. So where that was more of a general population type style gym, getting strong, achieving awesome results. So mine was like, okay, I started organizing photo shoots, taking care of the clients for that. A couple of the clients wanted to go on comp, so I helped them, get ready for stage. So I kind of developed that kind of niche around myself. But then at the time, like, I kind of grew out of it. What can I do now? And that's when I just kind of decided to branch out. Went to another gym to kind of just run the business as a PT, but predominantly doing online coaching. And at that time as well, we had kind of planned to have I'm 32 this year. So at 30, I wanted to have a kid. So me and a partner spoke. We talked about, having kids and what we can do. And then at the same time, I was like, cool, I want to be home more. This is an opportunity for me not only to do what I love doing as a father, but I could be home now. I hired a business coach, hey, I want to get my business to this. I want to be an online coach. I still value in-person training. I still want that, but I think my skills are probably a bit more on an online coaching side. So just start putting the pieces in play to kind of get me there.
That's awesome, just to have the faith and the ability to do that, because each step coming from PSS, then you got to go, another leap. That's a nice little secure job too in the industry you love. Yeah. And then jumping into your own business and starting that, finding your own clients. Now we're looking at, I've got to get people in. Yeah. But finding a niche is you might not have millions of people coming at you, but you're going to find the people that need bodybuilding advice and they're going to come to you. And perfect being online. Some people are going to be green, but you're going to be able to tell them, go and do it. And they probably all have the same mindset. Okay, I just need someone to tell me what to do and I'll go and do it, knock it out, and it'll be, follow these steps and get in there.
I mean, the plan was always like, when I look back, like this is where I would have loved myself to be in a position to be in. Like, I'm happy where I'm at now. It's never been something where, how far can I scale this business? I'm not money driven. I'm not focused on how big I can make the business in terms of I'm happy to cap my numbers at a certain number. I'm happy to turn away clients who I think that I just may not be the right for. And I do it quite often. If someone comes and we have a good chat, I'm happy to go, hey, I just don't think my services are going to be I would love to help, but I think you'd benefit from someone else. I don't want, you save your money. I'm, bad as it sounds, I'm going to save my time.
Do they appreciate that? Do they appreciate that?
Yeah, a lot of them do.
Honesty?
Yeah, a lot of them, and a lot of them are just like, beautiful. Can you point me in a direction who can? And I have no issue with referring other coaches. I definitely don't. And I've done it before. I've actually referred coaches I've never met before. I'd love to catch up with them in person and be like, hey man, I sent a few people to you and I've seen their stuff. They're with you. So I got no commission. Just thank me later.
But you've got the lifestyle gig, haven't you? I mean, you've got a job you love and you're working from home. You're around family. You're not stuck in traffic every day.
Oh yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah, that's worth a lot.
Sorry, you guys. Okay. Yeah.
I was just going to say, this is like the back end of COVID. Like, it was such a shit time, and it was such an unsure time for a lot of people. And, you know, like your story where you're still working, but everyone was a bit worried about like what was going to happen. And all this cool stuff's come out of it. Like, it seems like the online world is a lot bigger.
Yep.
Like, a lot of people are chasing online coaching and online stuff now. It's just the way of the future, but it's really like accelerated it. And it's sort of like, it was just such a crap time, but there are so many great stories that come out of it where it gave people that nudge they needed to be like, I don't want to do this. I want to do this. And it was that push that you needed, like that extra little bit of motivation to go, you know, I'm going to try it.
Yeah, and made a lot of people realise that they were just sort of coasting along, hey? They were just like
100%.
cruising along in this career or this thing that they weren't really happy with. They maybe sitting in a cubicle and thinking, then they had to go home, work from home, and thought, wow, this is cool.
I can do this.
Because having an easy life that just gets shit done is really dangerous because you can just keep doing it forever.
I was happy to coast.
You're like, man, you know, I can pay the bills and I got a bit of extra money left over for this and that, and it's not so bad, and you talk yourself into it.
If I could guarantee, like, if it wasn't for COVID, like, I could probably guarantee that I would still be doing what I was doing. I'd have a family in that. But then
that little bit of pressure and adversity, and it just gives you the push you need to go.
Most definitely.
You know,
I was comfortable.
Awesome.
I was comfortable.
Comfort's dangerous.
I was extremely, which in comfort causes complacency.
Yeah.
And then that fear is easier, isn't it? When you're comfortable and things are okay, you'd be way too scared to go, you know, fuck this, I'm going to chase what I want.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What would you say as a personal trainer in general is your greatest challenge with working with clients? What's your greatest challenge?
For me, and I mentioned just before, empathy was probably the greatest challenge. Probably still is around because it's so two things I reckon my greatest challenge. Empathy in the beginning, I've definitely changed it now. I do think it's probably one of my strong suits is being able to understand, step in someone else's shoes much more now. Where back when I first started, I just I couldn't, because I was such a robot with the way I did things, and I just couldn't understand why I was like, why? What do you mean you didn't eat today? Like I couldn't understand that. What do you mean you don't want to go to the gym? What do you mean, like, I love this, how come you can't love it? So I struggled a lot with empathy. So PPS especially, we taught me a lot about being able to kind of step in someone else's shoes and understand where they're coming from. I think once you do kind of lock that in and nail that aspect and that value, it will take your kind of coaching to maybe the next level, because that extra care factor, and at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep people around. You can give them the best program, best results, but what's going to make them stay is the fact that you generally feel that you care. And I guess what I struggle with a lot, and I still struggle to this day, bit of just imposter syndrome. You know, I struggle with a bit thinking like I always kind of overthink things. Do I really know what I'm talking about? I'm fairly new to this industry. How dare I?
I reckon that's a great point. I reckon a lot of PTs feel that.
A lot of people in general. I think it's not just PT. I think it's the whole world. You meet people who are so qualified in different areas. I mean, look at you. You obviously know what you're talking about. You know, so you shouldn't have that sort of imposter thing. But there are so many people in the world in general, like super qualified people in all different areas. Like, you know, I don't really feel like I should.
Yeah, they underestimate.
I don't know if I know enough to pass it on.
Yeah.
It's that Donnie Kruger effect they call it, where you think you know. I think I'm probably going to butcher this, but where you think you know so much when you don't know much at all. But the more you know, that's when you kind of start to doubt yourself more. And that's where I think that's what I try. Even to be totally honest, when Jonesy hit me up about this podcast, and I was like, cool, I didn't even know you had one. Let me have a listen. So I listened to a few episodes, and I was like, nah, man, these guys are too smart. That's the first thing I thought. I was like, man, these guys are citing studies, and I was like, and I said to my missus, I was like, I don't know if I can do it. And Jonesy was real open. He was a bit like, hey man, you know, if you have the time, don't feel pressure. You know, we don't have much to offer. And I was like, man, like, I'd love to have a chat. And then eventually I was like, I don't know. And I told my missus, I was like, I don't know. These guys are smart. Like, what if they ask me a question? I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I think we have that imposter syndrome as well.
Oh, yeah.
We're definitely.
But it's funny though you say that, because you've got people like that are so knowledgeable and experienced and have that little fear of just crossing over and imparting that to others. But then you've just got at the other end these absolute boneheads that just know fuck all, and they just, you know, the old bro science, and they're in there just doing things to people that they shouldn't be doing. You know?
It's that old saying, like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yes.
Like, you know, if you don't know it, you don't know it.
Yes.
So maybe you think you know it.
They convince themselves that they know.
You convince yourself that you're all over it. It's like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
The first time I heard that, I'm like, what a stupid saying. And then I'm like, nah, actually rings true.
Combine that with social media now.
Yeah, that must be a big one. I was going to ask you about social media and sort of the plethora of people that are out there. some good, some bad. I mean, we even touched on the Liver King before. You just the fraudulent sort of stuff that goes on, and it's probably not imposter syndrome, but it's more like
narcissism.
Well, yeah, there's
These
that too,
crazy people.
and there's sort of a facade of. We've definitely talked about it on the podcast before. Smithy's mentioned it of just, when you're on Instagram, it is this. You don't see anyone's unhappiness on Instagram.
No.
Do you? You see everyone's happiness. This is, I'm living my best life here.
Facade, yeah.
And the same in sort of online PTing and people online. You're like, well, man, this guy's jacked. And then you look at the Liver King. You probably should look at it and go, he's not natural, that fella, to start with. But then when it sort of all fell apart, then you're kind of thinking, is that most people? Most people on that top level, are they giving us the information that's correct?
Because they're taking photos of themselves, and then all these adjustments you can do with a photo, like
that as
touch
well,
this
yeah.
up, make this a little bit wider here,
Airbrush that and edit a little bit off here, and
so sometimes, most of the time, you're seeing something that's not even real.
Yeah.
well, even if it is real, you're going to take the photo on your best day, aren't you?
Yeah,
like you touched on it with your comp prep. You're not going to stay at that level of comp day for 6 months or a year. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
But if you want to put some images out in the online space, you're obviously going to use that. People see that and they go, fuck, I want to be like that all the time.
Yeah.
I want to wake up and look like that every day of my life.
That's people's income
like
now
cool.
these days as well.
Yeah.
The amount of money people make from social media now. And I guess it's like, because it's funny because me's putting myself in this kind of category too. And, obviously I'm only 32, but I could, even before social media wasn't around.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think before social media, individuals such as ourselves were able to read other things and kind of have an understanding of other things, whether that be studies or just things you've learned from life in general, where now in this day and age, anyone that's under 30, like social media has always been there. So that's their primary source of information.
Yep.
And maybe they weren't able to be able to pick up the values that we probably learned previously.
Yeah.
So they're
discerning
blinded to it all.
Different information. Is that true? Is that
so they
not
open
true?
someone on social media or someone's page, Liver King, like that has to be real.
Yeah.
Where we're able to call bullshit quite easily.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's true or not, but it could be a maturity thing, just the fact that we could just call bullshit easier because we know the difference between social media and what's reality, because we spent the chunk of our majority of our life in reality, opposed to this day and age. Like social media is at the forefront. It's there.
Yeah.
The first thing you do is you go. I still do it now. The first thing I do is open up Instagram every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
But I do it every day.
It's part of your job though, isn't it? You probably need to create that content. You show that you are legit.
Are there any trainers that you follow, mate? I've had a bit of enjoyment watching JTM, Jay Marinac. JTM Fit, he's followed a few of his programs.
Pekulski's pretty good.
Obi Vincent, who's that?
Ben Pekulski.
Yeah.
I definitely follow. I'm balls deep into bodybuilding. I live and breathe it, and more so in the. It's funny because it's more so in the I guess the realm of the IFBB side, the more where they definitely all dabble in the PED side opposed to natural bodybuilding. A lot of those coaches, which is so funny because if you want to talk, I guess there is quite a lot of it is science behind it, but the stuff they kind of talk about is still kind of bro sciencey.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of just listen to their stuff.
Are they pretty transparent though? They'll say, there's a natural comp and there's a unnatural. Is that
as in the comps are transparent with each other, or
just those guys online sort of.
They're much more transparent now because I think it's hard to hide. I think back in the day, years back, it was like frowned upon. You can't talk about it. Yeah, and I know definitely, especially on the upper end, Ronnie Coleman days. And all that, like if they were like refused to answer anything about steroids or anything. But now they're definitely much more transparent. They're definitely not afraid to kind of admit it. It's obvious.
Yeah.
But on a kind of natural end of things, like there's so many natural kind of bodybuilding prep coaches out there as well. They probably just don't get as much notoriety, and there are some great ones out there, especially in Australia alone. I think my coach is quite up there. His name is Joey Cantlin. He's over in Brisbane. he does really well. He's awesome. I've been with him for going on 2 years now.
Yeah.
Um,
And is that all virtual training you do with him?
yeah, man. I've met him in person when I competed in nationals last year. I caught up with him, which was awesome. You know, it was funny, like, as if we've been friends for years, and it's the first time I kind of ever met him.
Yeah.
A few kind of natural bodybuilding coaches out there in Perth as well. Alan Mau's one of them. Brandon Kempter, who's a well-known Australian coach. I had another coach, Richard Collins from Physique Code. He's the one that actually mentored me when I needed a PT. He was a kind of a mentor first. So when I was talking about the mentor that got me into PTing, I hit him up because he's just been in the industry for such a long time. So it's definitely becoming much. Back in the day, I think there was only like 5 comp prep coaches in Perth, really, that most people knew about. Now there's so many, and I guess much more trusted and much more educated now as well, opposed to just going to old school methods that I did back in 2015 for sure.
But that doesn't even seem like all that long ago, 2015, does it?
No.
So,
What about your own training, mate? What do you like training best?
Muscle group wise?
Yeah.
Chest.
Man, gotta love it. Can't go past a good chest day.
Yeah.
I love deadlifts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Deadlifts is I got a stickman deadlift tattoo on my ankle actually from a night out in Bali. Also 2015.
Yeah.
Spiraled down.
Yeah.
For deadlifts over squats?
Oh, I'm terrible with squats, man.
Yeah.
I'm terrible. My mobility is absolutely terrible. My mobility, my flexibility, my range of motion is terrible. It's probably the worst you would definitely have ever seen.
And a squat is definitely difficult because it's got so many moving parts that if you are
got
even
zero knee
ankle,
flexion.
you know,
There's so
Ankle
much involved in a
dorsiflexion
squat,
and-
isn't there?
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so many like angles and
not
limb
a lot.
length and
There's not a lot of people that can do a good squat.
Yeah.
So
I
like-
don't program any squats at all.
Nah.
Totally honest.
Really?
Yeah.
do you do more like single leg stuff?
I would probably do something that would offer a bit more external stability. If it's someone that's not, it's hard because you don't want to just teach them something that, or give them an exercise that provides so much external stability, such as like a Smith machine squat or a hack squat or a leg press. And then it just steers them away from actually learning how to actually use internal stability and actually be able to perform a squat.
yeah.
But plus it's like, I try meet in the middle between like how much kind of, I guess, stimulus to fatigue ratio they can get out of the movement. What are we trying to achieve here?
Yeah.
Deadlifts is for myself. I guess it kind of gets a wee bit frowned upon in the muscle building realm, and no one.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's especially nowadays where not many people will program them because it's kind of the same thing I said before. Like the stimulus to fatigue ratio probably provides a bit more fatigue than actually stimulus.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Most people can't really perform them that good.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it worth it? I do it purely just whether it is egotistical. I love to lift heavy. Always have.
That's just one of those exercises that you just do for just look after your own functional strength as you get older. You know,
Yeah.
if everyone did a couple of deadlifts a day, it would be a lot more sort of.
Oh, there's one
stronger.
exercise you could choose that you are only able to do one exercise for the rest of your life. Like, I'd probably choose deadlifts.
Yeah, I agree.
anything.
It trains everything. It works everything, doesn't it? I'm just actually my young bloke's 15 and he's getting into some lifting. He loves it. And I'm just controlling that urge to, Dad, can I bench press 50 kilos today? Yeah, mate, yeah, we will. But, do your warm up first. And I love, he's just got awesome deadlift technique. And I've just started him off at the very, very basic, single leg toe touch, no weight, nothing. And I've just worked him up. Then had the weight sitting on a high level so he can just do the
top pull,
the hot top pull. Now he's actually getting down to do a full deadlift, and he's just got the most perfect, beautiful form. And I reckon that's probably where, being a youngster,
he hasn't trained for
he hasn't
15
trained
years
before.
and
Yeah, so
developed all
And
these
he probably
bad
hasn't got
habits.
injuries that you compensate for, and you start
Exactly.
taking little shortcuts to get shit done.
Yeah,
like,
And I just seen him as a little ball of plasticine that I can mould, and he's so receptive, and he listens, and he seems to have a good conception of how to apply body movement.
Yeah.
It's got good proprioception sort of shit.
Yeah.
Like he
Some people just
understands how
do.
to-
Some people you can just
Yep.
tell them, and you try to cue it the best you can, and you do it, and they do it straight away, and you pick it up. You're like, this is gonna go very well.
Yeah.
I think when I was at PPS, especially when I was doing much more in person, we were able to do similar to that. Start off with block pull, start off with deficit deadlifts, or and then build up to an actual proper conventional deadlifts. And I think that's another struggle with kind of online coaching is like someone tells me, oh, we're going to train. And I go, okay, we'll start off with this exercise first. And everyone just a bit impatient to like, they're not.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, we juggle where we want them to stick to the program. We need adherence. Adherence is key. Enjoyment is a key to adherence. You have to kind of like play around going, you know, I don't, as much as I want them to learn the basics first, you know, give them something where it's like start off real base, especially I guess the niche that I work with, they're probably not going to last long on the program very much. They get bored very easily.
It's a big challenge for you.
Yeah,
To
definitely.
have them motivated straight up.
So I guess it's being able to like I love deadlifts. Does everyone need to do deadlifts? Would be great if everyone could perform a good deadlift, but it's probably not
everyone loves it.
Yeah, and you don't really need to. And most people, even if you were there in person, most people, it's hard to perform really, really well without.
Yeah.
And not only perform well with extreme effort.
Weight.
Yeah.
Push yourself.
Yeah, with heavy weight.
Because then it's like now, on coaching in general, and I'm sure you guys will relate, it's like 50% of it is being able to teach them how to do it. The other 50 is teaching them the mindset at the same time.
Yeah.
Being able to push themselves to it. So it's like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it properly. We're going to do it hard, heavy. You know, if you don't see yourself doing it, then you might as well not do it at all. And we'll find something else that we probably get a bit more benefit out of.
Yeah.
Obviously, it changes from client to client, and it would change for your training as well, depending on if you're training for a comp or whatever. But what's your preferred splits for your own personal training? Let's just say, like, you know, just to keep yourself fit and in check. And also your preferred split for your clients, like what would you go to mostly?
Yeah, I mean, for myself in particular, that's where Joey comes in, my coach. So I give him the reins. He tells me, you know, what we need. And mine's because my goal at the moment is competitive and stepping on stage. I competed last season and I came second in the state. I did pretty well in nationals as well, where it's like, okay, what needs to be done in order for us to get a top podium spot? The feedback from the judges for me was say like bigger shoulders, upper back, obviously build the legs up. So my program will be specifically towards building up those areas, probably a bit more unorthodox type style, like rather than your typical kind of bro splits or, you know, push days, pull days. Mine's like cool, full day, full upper days and every day, and just being able to prioritize volume specifically towards, you know, certain muscle groups. So mine's a bit more specific to a certain goal.
Yeah.
And in terms of like how much I do, I'm pretty I'm open to training as much as I can. So it's just for me with my coach, give me the program that's going to give me the best results rather than give me the program that I'm going to be able to stick to the most. Like it's going to be for others. Generally, I would start with the program that's going to, I guess, provide and maximize their training the most. And what I mean by that is depending on how many days they can travel. So I'll kind of reverse engineer it. We'll start off with what's the program that's going to give us the best results. Cool. Splitting up the muscle groups. Yeah, split up the muscle groups twice a week because obviously that's going to probably provide a bit more than doing just one muscle group once a week.
Yeah.
You know, and then from there, split it up. Like how would that look for someone? If someone generally can only train 3 days a week, then obviously full bodies every day.
Yeah, right.
Maybe having a bit more focus towards certain movements, more leg focused day, more pull focused day.
Yeah.
Someone could train 4 days a week. Cool. What's the best split that we could do there specifically for them and their goals? And most people would just generally want to get, you know, it's not like specific where like you need to specifically get a bigger back. Everyone just wants to get in better shape.
Yeah.
So whatever I can do. So generally 4 days a week. I think 2 upper days, 2 lower days, being able to target all muscle groups kind of evenly, space it out. And then as we go up more, you know, 5 days, I do love a kind of push day, push pull legs, upper lower split is probably what I favor the most for a 5 day split, just because probably more personal preference as well. And then, but like there, you would always have a kind of base program that I guess I would give to all my clients, and then from there, take into account their personal goals, take into account their preferences, what they can do. General pull day for me, if you can do it, cool. Deadlifts always. Like if you can't, what can we go back from that? You know, what's the next best thing? And then overall enjoyment, I guess. So it's I think in the online world especially, it's very easy to just kind of give a generic cookie cutter program to everyone. Here you go, and
individualize a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, like that. Then that's, you know, you're just not doing your job as an actual coach, really. But it's all going to look similar at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So if you have kind of base what it looks like, and then you individualize it for them,
Yeah,
and that
based
could be
on their
anything.
time and
Lifestyle, experience,
Yeah.
preference, enjoyment, and goals.
Yep.
And then, you know, you can mold it up to that.
Yeah.
Like I can't sit here and someone might say to me they enjoy doing a certain exercise. I'm not going to go, nah, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
Follow the program, do what you're told. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It depends. If it's someone in the upper where they're doing a comp prep and they're trying to tell me they need to do this, then I will step in and go, no, we've got a certain goal in hand. We're going to be doing this instead. But for general pop individuals, like you got to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
What's optimal? What's going to maximize their best training? But what can they practically apply? Because optimal doesn't mean shit if someone's not going to follow it. So where can we meet in the middle?
And you generally have an eating plan, nutrition plan for just your general person.
Yeah, definitely.
What would that entail?
So for myself as well, I guess because I'm a qualified sports nutritionist with SNA, that kind of helps out as well, being able to be qualified to give certain nutrition plans for certain individuals. It depends on the individual. Someone may just do well with a bit more of a flexible dieting approach where you could just kind of give them, depending on their experience, if I could just kind of give them their calorie intake, macro intake targets within ranges as well. They don't have to be perfect. Always give my kind of non-negotiables on top, and my non-negotiables will always be there has to be a certain kind of intake of fruit, intake of vegetables.
Protein amounts, I suppose.
Yeah. So it's not just so much, here's your protein, here's your carbs, here's your fats. They hit it. You know, you could probably hit those with a diet that's rice and cereal and paddle pops and still hit your targets. So there's non-negotiables there for myself that I learned from a few coaches of my own, mentors of my own, where it's like, okay, we still need to tick the boxes in terms of micronutrient intake, fiber intake. So certain, you know, the vegetable intake we will aim for. Depend if someone's very, very green, I'll always start them off with a nutrition plan. Again, based on their preference, based on their lifestyle. I'm not going to give someone that's a bricklayer 6 meals a day to eat. Yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work. Yeah. Exactly. So just being able to and to stand and the reason why I give someone a meal plan from the get go if they're very green is just to standardize their eating, generalize their eating, gain some consistency. Take a little bit less thinking out for them.
Yeah. Do you go down the track of eliminating anything? Like, you know, I mean, I know that can be sometimes perceived as a bit of a negative, but, you know, do you advise someone on like we're going to get rid of that?
It depends on how, I guess, on how extreme they kind of, if someone that's like, nah, man, I need to have my
KFC.
Yeah, I need to have my Zinger burger for dinner every night. It's like, ooh, I don't know, man. I think that's the reason why we're where we are at the moment. Yeah. So I like the kind of 80-20 approach, I guess, where it's like 80%. Your majority of your food comes from whole sources. Yeah. And then always have something in there that's going to. I mean, I'm a sucker for like paddle pops. And like
I was just going to say, when you brought up paddle pops before, that must have been your little week list. Cereal grains and paddle pops.
Yeah. What about drumsticks? What do you think about drumsticks?
I'm a paddle pops and splits at the moment. That's my weakness. And I started off with like one a day, and then I'm like, I might have 2, maybe 3. My calories are obviously on a higher end. Yeah. So my 80-20 is a bit of a larger scale than normal. But yeah, it's a mixture of trying to show them like it's like we want to absolutely. It's not just chasing a certain look, because you can realistically achieve a certain look, but we're chasing overall maximizing performance, training, and health at the end of the day. And and that's just maybe my own kind of personal experience. And I know for myself, like I haven't been sick in years. I don't get sick. Yeah. I got COVID, and I was in the middle of comp prep during COVID, so I was walking up and down the garage still train like. And I put that towards just having, I guess, a diet that's rich in kind of everything. Yeah. And
being fit, active.
Yeah.
Able to help too,
What about supplements, mate? Do you take supplements, or are you in a position to recommend supplements to your clients?
For myself, I would. So my general kind of rule is get the most out of your nutrition and your diet first before kind of branching out into anything else. There are kind of supplements that you can kind of have on a daily that are known to kind of create benefits and increase your training performance. Things like creatine.
Creatine is a no-brainer, probably.
Yeah, so creatine, caffeine, if you could obviously handle it, and the amounts it's actually going to give you, whether it's placebo or not. But yeah, creatine, caffeine, and they're probably the main ones, I guess. Fish oil, definitely, if you don't really have a high intake of those certain fats from anything else. Like myself, I don't really eat much, I guess, fish in general, and so that's
avocados.
Yeah, exactly, and so being able to mainly them, and I guess the only other kind of supplements are the ones that may be a bit deficient if you're in, say, some sort of deficit. Things like vitamin D and zinc and that. So the ones that could potentially, that probably are the first to go when you do kind of cut food out. So I always try, rather than trying to give all supplements, like I said before, like my non-negotiables is before giving other things. For example, a great one is like when a client hits me up and they're asking me what's going to help them with their sleep. Oh, my sleep shit. Do you have anything you could recommend to kind of make that better? And my first thing is like, okay, put the phone down.
Yeah.
Turn the TV off.
Yeah.
Close the laptop.
Yeah.
Darken the room.
Yeah.
Cool it down. Get a fan. White noise. And then if your sleep's still shit and you're doing that for 7 days, cool. Then we might have to look at other things. So I don't really, outside of the realm that's gonna, for me, supplement wise is only going to better, whatever you're doing now. So if you could nail things 100%, then those supplements can maybe give you a bit more of a 5%, 10% benefit to your training. But until people are really, I could give them kind of, just general kind of recommendations, but I would like to see someone kind of tick all the boxes first,
Yeah. Well, that's the definition of a supplement, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's obviously just topping up stuff that you're missing out on in your
You can't get it through your regular sort of diet and lifestyle.
Yeah.
Do you work with people who are sort of like vegans or carnivores or on a keto diet, or is that sort of non-compatible with what you're trying to achieve?
Worked probably vegans and more plant-based. I've worked more towards not. I haven't gotten too in depth with them. Anyone else in kind of keto probably, I guess, we go back to kind of where my niche is. Generally, more where obviously I'm definitely more favored towards the carbohydrate side of things. So I haven't really quite worked with anyone outside of the normal realm of what a normal kind of diet looks like. Plant-based, vegans, definitely I've worked with. Funny enough, they probably educate me more than I could educate them. I probably learn more from them, and it's more so. I think where some coaches and PTs go wrong is like it's like a one size fits all.
Yeah, really dogmatic about what they're doing.
What do you mean you're vegan? You're not going to grow because you're unable to actually get a bioavailable source of protein because you're not having dairy products and whey and meats and that, where it's not really the case. I mean, I guess there are instances where they might have a bit more deficiency than someone that's able to kind of eat from a much more whole source. But in terms of like performance and training wise, unless someone's really, trying to
struggling,
achieve the very best, like everything's kind of possible. Like you can still achieve great results. Being on that side, but I definitely probably would like to kind of. I'm always open to work with someone who wants to work, who's obviously outside of the spectrum of what I tend to generally work for. Definitely.
Yeah. Did you say you're training for a comp?
Yes.
In the near future.
Yes, I got. It's far in mind. I got 2024 season B, which is the end of year in mind.
Okay.
That I'm kind of getting ready for. Yeah. No huge rush on it. Like I'm really enjoying. I guess general life at the moment, training heavy, eating lots of food, fit in the clothes, not feeling kind of tired all the time. It gives me a good opportunity to focus on the business as well and focus on the early stages of being a dad as well. And I got a few clients going into this one that's coming up. They're about 7 weeks until they step on show. And this is where I'm actually stepping back, coaching hat on, got a bunch of them going in. So able to kind of, when it comes to comp prep or preparing for a comp, like that's, if you're going to do it properly, that's the sole focus of everything. Everything kind of comes second, as bad as that sounds. so when I'm right now, it's just there's other kind of things I want to focus on as well. When I get back on state, like I want to be significantly improved.
Yeah.
I want to go back up there and I came second last time, so it's kind of made you hungry
Yeah,
to come
yeah,
first
yeah.
this time. And it's never, I never expect a first place. It would be very stupid very silly. One of the mistakes is when people do comps and bodybuilding comps is to expect a first place result. And
is it sort of subjective
Super
from the
subjective, yeah.
judges?
It's
They're
apples
looking
and
at
oranges.
they're looking
Yeah.
at judging you I guess. Yeah,
There's
it's not,
basic criteria what they will follow
yeah.
in terms of like what they're looking for, condition, and obviously specific to a certain division that they're doing. But general, like a judge could just not like your look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a bit rough, isn't it? You know, like kind of. I guess you're putting yourself out there, but I don't really like the look of that fella. I like this guy. Yeah.
Do you sort of know like what judges will be attending, and then like to sort of cater for like they like this sort of more than that, or
me specifically? I don't really know. The ones in WA state shows are very consistent in who they judge. So I guess if you kind of get the similar feedback to what you got last time, you know what you're going to work on because it's going to come specifically from them. You could always be a bit more in depth with the industry and talk to him as well. I'm pretty good friends with like the overall WA president as well, so I could always pick his brain. When you do start to go into more of a national, and I haven't done too many of them, I've obviously just done one, but on national side, like when I went over to Brisbane, Queensland to compete, like there were certain, I guess, judges there that kind of favor towards a different look. Even states favor towards like different posing. Everything was quite different over there.
Oh.
So yeah, it's very interesting. So I guess at the end of the day, like if you purely focus on going over and competing in general just to win, it's not like something. Think about bodybuilding. It's not like something where you train really, really hard and your overall outcome is based on your performance. Like
You're not hitting a time, are you? You're not. Yeah.
Like whereas you're actually exactly where you actually say you're running doing a 100-meter sprint.
Yeah.
Like you specifically your performance on that day, like that's what's going to give you the first place win. Where bodybuilding is like it's just something where no matter how hard you work, there's a certain if you achieve a certain look on a day, which obviously comes down to certain variables, but it just doesn't.
An element of judging.
It's just the only sport where you don't get placed due to your performance. Yeah. And it's funny, even if you want to call it a sport, I guess. That's why sometimes there's always debates where is bodybuilding a sport? Is it not?
Is there an element of theatre on stage? And I don't mean theatre, but I mean like if you walk out and you look super nervous,
presence and that,
presence, is that accounted for in part of their scoring?
I think so. I think confidence plays a huge role in I guess your scoring, more so in the fact that it draws. If you're out there, your confidence shows. The more confident you are, the more you can display your physique, the more you can display your strengths. Hence why posing is quite a big role in it. Posing. So, for example, someone, there might be 11 poses in a certain division, 4 quarter turns where they measure kind of your symmetry, and then your muscularity poses where you do certain poses where they actually judge certain muscle groups and your look. The confidence in your posing, if it's not there, you will see it. If you're not confident in your presence, they will, you will fade. You will, you won't be able to display your strengths very well. Just the overall, the better you can pose, the more confidence, the more energy you could put out there, then the more eyes are drawn to you.
Yeah. So there's some dudes that are quite flamboyant, and they're, do they get? They probably don't get any points for that flamboyance, but is it the confidence thing that?
Yeah, there are like the federation that I compete in, ICN. They don't do posing routines anymore. I don't think they ever did.
Right, it's a routine.
You come out and everyone does the same poses, where there's other divisions where you actually come out and you have a minute and a half to display your look. And you don't really get judged on that. It's just like more for fun. But at the end of the day, if you can draw more eyes on you, especially from the judging panel, then they're going to look at you more. And, then maybe go, he actually looks pretty good.
Particularly if you're up there with a number of other guys, you've just got to stand out somehow.
100%. Posing is like it has the potential to make it like if you're like close to someone and they may not have and you guys physique, so and it's hard to judge which one's which and who's going to take the top spot. it's very neck and neck, then maybe that confidence and the way that they present themselves on stage would probably tip that judge a little bit more to go, actually, I like the way he kind of is.
Yeah.
For example, like I for the division I compete in, or both divisions I competed in last year, I was probably one of the bigger guys on stage, just in terms of thickness. I definitely had, I would argue, probably the biggest and best back on stage. Deadlifts. That's the only one deadlift. And I'll argue that. But at the same time, and the judges mentioned this to me, and I actually looked in photos, like the way I posed, I didn't quite have the confidence. I had the confidence in my posing, but it's funny because you have a line, you stand on, you do a pose, and you just assume that everyone's on this line, and someone will always step forward in front of you. And I just didn't do that. I don't know if it was more so I thought I played the, I'm gonna be the, do the right thing and kind of, and there's no wrong or right thing.
So the dudes that stand forward, they're trying to get a little bit more prominence.
Yeah, 100%. And
wow,
but the feedback that I got from a judge before I went to nationals was actually that they're like, you had one of the biggest physiques on stage, but you hid behind people, and they didn't see you. So then I was hiding my strength. So it all plays a role.
As if you're thinking about that on stage.
I remember when I was doing it, the thing I was thinking was like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to stand down.
Trying to be a good fella and kind of hurt you a bit.
And I was like, because they do it. They'll get in front of you. They'll rub your elbows.
Really?
Right. And
that'd be really cool seeing a brawl breaking out. Like, push me, man. Push me first.
So it was just it definitely, I reckon it definitely plays a massive role. They kind of
well, I guess it's such another factor that you've got to train for.
Yeah,
like you're training your muscles. Now you've also got to train your poses.
Yeah. I did drama in school as well. So being on the stage I was quite comfortable up there.
And what do? Do you come out with a nice big smile, or do you come out with a grimace?
No, they always say smile.
Yeah,
smiles. I hate my smile, so I never smile. But then you look at your photos, you're like, oh fuck, I do a smirk. I do a little, little
half smile,
little confident, cheeky smirk.
Cocky.
Exactly.
You got the blue steel going.
Yeah, and too, like if you look at my first comp prep photos, and I did it in 2015, like every pose I did, like I was either half blinking, I looked stupid. I was like, man, I can't frame any of these. These are dumb. Well, my next ones, it's like that you're doing it, so you hold the pose, you make sure you're smiling.
Yeah.
You make sure, because at the end of the day, I mean, the top spot's great, but the photos are probably what that's the ones I look back on at the moment. And
so that comp at the end of 2024, when will that really start ramping up training wise?
So for me, really, like the minute I stepped off stage last year in October is when my next prep started.
Right,
so
okay.
You go through a bit of a what's called a recovery phase from competing, because you just stressed your body so much. You got down to extreme low body fats, your hormones are out of whack, hunger cues are gone, everything, like your libido's shot to shit, you're tired. It takes a fair amount of time to actually get your body back to, I guess, normal baseline, and to kind of get your body back to baseline. It sucks because you need to kind of gain body fat to get back to normal, really, to signal your body
slowly over time, I suppose.
Not definitely not in like 3 days, which most people do. They gain they just stack it on straight away because they start binging after. But in a much more measured approach, I took a bit more of an aggressive approach. I guess I'm a bit more mature in terms of I don't care about maintaining that look. It did its job. My next thing was get back to normal, feel good again. It feels absolutely terrible to be that low body fat in general. It's just shit feeling. I spent the next, I guess I recovered quite well, 8 to 10 weeks, just trying to get things back to a baseline where then I could actually start putting on muscle, being in a position. So, unfortunately, you can't exactly step off stage and just be in a position to just start stacking on muscle. You got to go through a bit of a recovery period. And then from that recovery period, you can jump into an improvement / off season, which is what I'm doing now. They'll run all the way up until... generally, you're looking about 30 weeks out is probably a good baseline to have a bit of a comp prep. So about April, I think that puts it, next year April, and then I'll go all the way up until around October, November.
Yeah, wow.
It is a big prep, isn't it? It's a long time.
Yeah, it's especially for someone like myself who's when I'm in prep mode, Like I tell my missus, if you want to go for dinners, you got to do it now, because when I'm in prep, it's just I just love and that's the strength. What I love getting from comp prep is being able to have that kind of discipline and that dedication.
And it takes a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Even going out for dinner, social activities, you're probably not drinking at all. You know, it's a sacrifice, and you got to.
Yeah, and if you're in a relationship, and if you have a family and kids and that, then unfortunately they take on that burden as well, and it's a sacrifice amongst everyone. So
you'd need to have a supportive partner, wouldn't you? Like it would be a lot harder if they just didn't get it, and they were just.
If your partner's not on board, wife's not on board, 100%, then don't bother getting into it.
Yeah,
it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
No.
It really isn't. But if they are on board, it's such a strength. It's such a strength to have. Like my missus was 4 weeks out from giving birth, so like on my comp, and she was there on a day, belly out here, had the itinerary because I was prepping, I was coaching 2 clients at the time, as well as myself. So she's sitting there, I'm focusing on the comp, I'm trying to coach them. She has the itinerary. She's telling everyone, you need to be here, here, here. Like she was on point. She's awesome. She was absolutely.
Is she trained? Cool.
Yes, she's not specifically into it. Like we've always wanted to. She definitely has the structure for her. Like she has a great body. At the moment, she's jumped into like she just like wants to train. So she's doing. There's a place called Dignus Athletica, which is more CrossFit based.
Oh yeah.
And I think they're relatively new, I believe. And now they're more not so much CrossFit. They're more as well to the strength conditioning. And she's been doing that for the last few weeks now that she's probably been able to, I guess, clear to go training since giving birth. And she's loving it. Like, and I'm all for like. I'm not like, oh no, CrossFit, what are you doing? Bodybuilding, like, what are you doing? Hypertrophy based only. Movement is movement. As long as she's working out, then I'm happy with that. And as long as she's doing something, so she's doing that now, and she seems to be really, really enjoying that, which is good.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, we're probably.
Oh shit!
Yeah, just looking at the time.
What about how do people get a hold of you, mate? Like on your if they wanted to be a client of yours.
Probably Instagram is probably the best place to go. My Instagram is Dylan Tran, DYLZTRAN, and then from there they will have. I mainly put out content, hopefully to give value to people, and hopefully they can learn something, and feel free to even message something. But that's probably the main place, whether you want to get in contact with me there, and obviously through Instagram, it has a link tree on there, and that has links to my website. I don't even know what my website is actually. I think it's simplifiedtransformations.com.au. I barely use it. It's Instagram. Everything's Instagram. Right. And obviously there's a coaching application form. At the moment, I'm pretty much at capacity. So anyone who wants to kind of fill out that form and get amongst it, and definitely there's always spots opening up. People always finishing up. So
and
always
you can always refer people to certain trainers.
100%. Definitely. And I do it quite regular. So if I'm definitely not the right fit, which I think is a strong, something that's definitely needed, then definitely within this industry, I know heaps of quite accomplished coaches that I would definitely send someone to for sure.
Yeah, cool.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
It's been great to have a chat to you, mate.
Yeah, thanks,
it's
man.
Awesome.
Yeah, really good.
Good luck with the next comp. We'll definitely keep a track on how you're going.
Sure.
Yeah.
When I'm closer today, we'll jump back on and have another chat as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, bloody
Get you
oath.
back
That'd be
on.
good.
That'd be great. Yeah, we had a list of stuff to talk about and probably only got through
I think we got like 2 things done.
2 or 3 of them.
we
So
got plenty left.
yeah, it'd be good to get you back
Hopefully
on.
I didn't just talk your ears off.
No, it's good, mate. It's
all
probably
good.
we talk about sort of longevity and health aspects to sort of we're pushing 40s and 50s. It's sort of a different topic we talk about, but having that insight is really cool. Yeah.
Cool, man. Thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Awesome.
very much appreciated.
Thank you for having
Cheers,
me.
mate.
Yeah,
Good
my
on you.
pleasure. Thank you very much.
See you next time.
Get your air guitars ready.